Welcome to Studio 58A, live here at the Jamaica Information Service, our discussion program coming to you live on Facebook. I'm your host, Vaughn Davis. Thank you to everyone joining us online wherever you are. We really do appreciate it. And as you watch, remember to send in your questions and your comments so we can put them to our guest. And like how we have your attention, do us the same favor we always ask. Share this video with a friend or 2 or 5,000. So we can have a very lively discussion. Now, being a teenager or young adult is already difficult enough. Your hormones are raging, your body is changing, and then there's school and family stuff, all as young people trying to understand how to transition into adulthood. Now, imagine having all of that to deal with and also struggling with feelings of inadequacy and depression or shame, even suicidal thoughts. Many youngsters are having these difficulties and don't know how to properly process them, let alone where to go to get the help that they need. With all that in mind, enter lifestyle coach Patrice White and her dynamic mental health school marathon series, which has been going into schools all across Jamaica and helping our youngsters to get the help that they need. She's here today to tell us more about the tour and all that it has been accomplishing. Welcome, Patrice.
Thanks, Juan. Thanks for having me.
All right, so for persons who may not know, who is Patrice White? Well, what's your story,
Oh, where do I start? Yeah. So I'm from Spanish Town. I'm born in Spanish Town, did the entire circle in Spanish Town. When people ask me where I live in Spanish Town, my response is always, where have I not lived? Okay. I've done the circle, the block there from Komati. That's where I lived initially. Moved to Manchester Lane, Rivoli, and Tarspen, Signum, Willowdean. No, man, I don't know the Spanish Town circuit.
You done it for
exactly,
real.
Moved outside of Spanish Town, where I was living in Old Harbour, before, I came to Kingston, fully relocated, living in Kingston.
All right, and in terms of your upbringing, and how did it lead you into the position where now you want to focus on mental health and helping
youngsters my upbringing
is
what led me into that situation. I'm from, as I tell persons, I'm from the inner city. Whichever inner city, Lissa inner city, I've lived there. The only inner city I've never lived is, we're going to follow Adams, is Tivoli. You understand me? Because when I came to Kingston, it's just from one inner city to the other. Bay Farm Road, Seaview Gardens, Vineyard Town, the listing goes on and on. Sherlock Crescent.
Exactly.
You understand me? So it's, my background, I would never change it or, for anything, because I think it is what has molded me into the individual I am. I've been through several stages in my life. I've been through the stage of where I'm the outcome of a teenage pregnancy, where, I grew up having my mother reminded me, constantly telling me that I've ruined her life and she wished she had aborted me. To the point where I don't have a relationship with my mother. That's I remember, rough. Yeah, it's rough. It has affected me for years, but I think I've came to that chapter in my life where, I have to accept the fact that, she's my biological mother, but that doesn't mean that she's a mother. You get where I'm coming from? But it has affected me for years because I wanted a relationship with my mother, to the point where I remember when I was working at Kingston Hub Distributors, at the time, young teenage still, because I wasn't an adult. I wasn't 20 years. I started working at Kingston Hub Distributors when I was 19 years of age. And I remember when she said to me that she was getting married, and we're poor people getting married, and she couldn't afford a reception, and because of wanting that relationship with my mother, paid for a Chinese, pay to have it done at a Chinese restaurant, etc., stuff like that. Then, fast forward again, out of the urn of wanting a relationship with my mother, I was basically taking care of her for a period in my life, you understand me? But then when she's able to go on her foot, then, the typical, what I experienced from childhood coming straight, came back. So I had to close that chapter in my life, that, that relationship will never happen. another element now in my life was I grew up in a domestic violence home. You understand me? You know, I love my father to death. He means the world to me. You get where I'm coming from. But, you know, I don't know if that's one of the reasons why my mother hated me. You get where I'm coming from because of the domestic violence. And then that moved on to I'm seeing it repeating over and over again with, you know, with her husband that she married at the time or boyfriends that she would have been dating before she married, etc. So for me, when I went to school, you know, I went to Horizon Park all-age school. When we came to Kingston, I then went to Tarrant Primary School. That's one of the reasons why, you know, my first primary school stop had to be Tarrant.
Yes.
But when I was at Tarrant Primary School, I was what you call the problematic child.
Okay.
And, you know, if you say something to me too hard, you know, we're going to deal with it. You know, we're going to fight it, you understand me? And that had to do with a lot of anger that I was carrying around, you understand me?
Right.
Why did I have to be born poor, you understand me? Why did I have to be born in a situation with a parent that didn't want me? You get where I'm coming from? You know, why? So you're basically like, you're blaming yourself for being here when, you know, you're not the reason to be here. Fast forward now, you know, to high school, you know, living now, I started bouncing around because my mother and I just really wasn't getting along.
Butting heads just wasn't
butting
working.
heads. When I reached second form, I basically went out on my own, you know, catching here or there, wherever it is that would accommodate me. Which then led to, you know, my childhood rape trauma taking place between the age of 13 to 15 by the era lead in a particular era that I was living in. You get where I'm coming from?
Sound like you've lived that life and a half, man.
Rough, you know.
Jeez.
But, you know, I remember I had a discussion with someone once and I said to the person, I would never trade my childhood or what I went through if I had to redo life. And the person's like, are you crazy? I'm like, no, because it is what that makes me who I am now. I mean, I'm a bit rough, you know, for everybody. I'm very aggressive. It's my personality. It's remembering from childhood, it's survival of the fittest. You understand me? I have to try to survive. So I might not be polished as everybody else. You get where I'm coming from, but unless you live the walk I lived, the walk I lived, you get where I'm coming from. You'll not understand my childhood. So the reality of it is, because I was so busy concentrating on getting out of my situations that was occurring, whether it is, you know, the youngster situation, the teenage situation, etc., my idea of getting out of my existing situation then was to ensure that I excel in high school. I was one of those problematic child at Merle Grove. Barbara Martin, who was my principal then, you know, she has passed away now. You know, I'll go down. Anybody want to challenge me on that? She's the best principal in any high school system.
No,
you can't challenge me, I'm saying. But she really tried with me. I was one of those problematic child that I guess she saw the potential in me and she tried. You get where I'm coming from? I used to live at her office when I run partner Merle Grove. You know, we have to hustle.
Of course.
We have to survive, you understand me? So in order to survive, you're going to break all the school rules. So when I run partner, you know, as I moved back to Spanish Town, I was living in Spanish Town when I was going high school, and any fight that take place at Spanish Town bus stop is me. When I come back to Kingston and I was living in Kingston at Sherlock Crescent, I remember I getting called at principal office because, you know, fight take place at Spanish Town bus stop, it must be me.
Exactly.
I have to be like, but no, I live at Duane Park, you understand? I'm not going to Spanish Town bus stop, if you get where I'm coming from. And she really tried with me in terms of trying to mold me into a responsible adult, you understand me? And, you know, going down the path where I guess the statistics would say of inner city kids, you understand
me? She wanted you to buck the trend and be a better example.
When you're 19, you have 22 kids, if you get where I'm coming from. By 22 different men. If you get where I'm coming from, you understand me?
The expectation.
Exactly. So for me, to ensure that I was not a stigma of my situation, you understand me? I believed that getting an education was important for me in terms of, you know, you get your 5-6 subject and you pass your 2 A-level and you can hold a flight attendant job or a bank teller job, you know, back in the days. And I like now where you have all 10 masters and you still can't get no job, you get where I'm coming from. So that was, you know, my high school thing. When I left high school, I went to business college. I was given the opportunity of furthering my education, and it would either be going to sixth form or business college. And I was thinking long term, when you done sixth form, I still have to try to figure out how you go for the education.
Exactly.
So I took the business college opportunity that was being offered to me. And I remember graduating from Mergrove, example, the Wednesday, Thursday, and the Monday morning I started Duff's Business College. Then McDonald's came Jamaica, and you have to live. You get where I'm coming from, you have to survive. So I started working at McDonald's when I was going to Duff's Business College. So you remember, I left, I'm like, around 16, 17 now. I started out working at McDonald's, where when you come in, I'm the person you see with that big yellow bucket, where I wipe the floor, and up to this date I still can't manage it, and you're trying to squeeze it to dry the mop, to that would, you understand me? And I will never forget an incident where when school started, your classmates are in sixth form, you get where I'm coming from. You're trying to make ends meet and thing. And I'll never forget those mean girls that came into McDonald's and were laughing after me. You understand me? I know she never that turned out to nothing good, You see? You get where I'm coming from? Where fast forward a few years later, they turn back begging me to hire them for jobs. You get where I'm coming from?
I feel like I don't want to I want to get to how this works. I mean, with all the trauma you've gone through, obviously the mental health became an issue.
Exactly. I was
managing your mental health.
I was more focused on getting out, that I wasn't taking care of my mental health per se. Right. Remembering I have different elements of things that was affecting me from kids, from being a child. Right. So now, you fast forward, you're an adult, you're going through life, etc. Everything came crashing down for me in 2015. 2015, when, I closed down my first business, and the reality of it is what it is that you're going to do now. You get where I'm coming from? I had a failed marriage in 2008, 2009, and then my thinking is, then now I have a failed business. You get where I'm coming from? What next? You get where I'm coming from? So
feeling
now
like a failure yourself.
Exactly. Right. Now the reality and the doubt and everything, etc. So I pick up running. I was running from 2014, end of 2013, 2014, as a way of losing weight, because I was really overweight. You get where I'm coming from? But then my focus changed in 2015 when mentally I realized that I was sinking deep and deep into depression. I was having suicidal thoughts. It just wasn't pretty. When 2015 was supposed to be a good year for me, because that was the year I was getting married. You get where I'm coming from? But then I was trying to figure out what's my next step. What's my next step in life? Where am I going to go? Stuff I'm going to do. I don't want to be a married person who's depending on my husband for the rest of my life. Anyway, started Dynamic Lifestyle. What I did was I turned my passion into my second career move, which is I was struggling to lose weight. I've now found the formula of losing weight, and I realized I started picking up a following on social media because I was posting stuff I was doing and stuff like that, etc. Went and got my certification and stuff for personal training. Then I started Dynamic Lifestyle. Fast forward again to 2018. 2018 should have been the most successful year of my career. You understand me? I was traveling all over the world. I did this. I was doing this marathon tour series, which is basically, it was called Survival. You understand me? Meaning that I did not allow my circumstances to determine my future. You get where I'm coming from? I'm now a survivor, but not only am I surviving. You understand me? I am going past surviving. I didn't get out my situation, but I'm now living. So I was doing this marathon tour. I got some marvelous partners, sponsors that came on board, and they basically covered. I sat with them, told them the concept of the tour, etc. They loved the idea, and they came on board, partnered with me, and they foot the cost of these tours where I traveled and run. So if you go on social media, you'll see me like example in Germany, in France, Singapore, all over the world, running, doing what it is that I love doing.
Right.
But then, in October 2018, after 9, the 21st of October, I'll never forget that day, I called my best friend after 9, and I said to her, Janine, I'm going to kill myself.
And the question, obviously, after all of this success and everything,
You
is
understand?
why?
Well,
What was your
she knew-
headspace like at
She
the time?
she knew that you know, I was depressed. You know, I'm clinically depressed. I suffer from clinical depression. You understand me? And it's something that she knew.
Right,
you understand me?
right.
So it wasn't anything that was strange
Surprise,
to anyone,
okay, yeah.
etc. You know, stuff like that. And you know, she's like, Pat, no, you know, da da da. She went into, you know, she called my daughter, you know, where's your mother? Because she thought I was in the house, mom, you know. And my daughter said she's outside in the car. Don't allow her to drive out. You get where I'm coming from? And, you know, between she and my daughter, they're trying to get control of
bring you under
exactly
control
what was
bring
taking
yourself,
place,
yeah.
etc. My husband wasn't in the island.
Bring me some tissue, something. She's getting a
No, man,
emotional,
I'm
but
good.
it seemed like, let me just bring it all the same. Get me some tissue all the same, and just in case you need it, if you don't need it, it's all good.
After, you know, I was out there for around 2-3 hours in the car. Eventually, you know, I went inside. The next morning, my daughter said to me she don't want to go to school. Why, Maxie, have to go to school? She didn't say it, she didn't tell me why. The evening when school was out, she called me, and she's, you know, when she called me, she's like, Mom, she didn't want to go to school. On her way to school, she cried the entire time going to school. And
you'll be right.
She wasn't in the right headspace at school because she don't want, when she turn on her phone, she get a phone call that her mom is dead.
Right.
You get where I'm coming from?
Definitely.
My girlfriend Janelle, she was the next one. Like, she's constantly calling me, you know, checking on me, etc. Stuff like that. 2 weeks later, she sent me an email, and her email, the gist of her email was, for the entire 2 weeks, every time her cell phone rings, she's expecting to get a call that she don't want to get. She didn't want to get.
Nobody wants to get that.
And then that's when I realized that I can't do this to the people around me that loves me.
Right.
I can't put the burden on them for them to worry about
taking care of you and looking after your whole situation afterwards.
And that's how the whole mental health tour came about.
You started to make the effort
you understand
to get
me?
yourself
You know, I
out.
reached back out to two of my partners who were already on board with me in terms of 2018 runs and stuff like that. And you know, I discussed the idea with them in terms of, hey, I want to do a mental health tour. You understand me? You know, if I'm allowed to call the name of one of my partner.
Go ahead, sure.
You know, when I was having the conversation, I remember when I sat at Victoria Mutual office with Clover, and I said, I want to do a mental health tour, and I'd really love Victoria Mutual on board to be a part of this tour. And then I started telling her what was going on, and she was shocked. She had no idea. You understand? Because even through all this, we were talking almost every day. I remember in 2018, I was doing different stuff for Victoria Mutual, and she's like, there's no way she had any indication of, you know, me almost wanting to kill myself when I'm still functioning every day, you know, like everything was okay. You get where I'm coming from? And you know, she's like, Victoria Mutual is fully behind me in terms of where this story is concerned, because they believe it's a topic and it's an issue, it's an illness, it's a sickness that needs to be addressed. You get where I'm coming from? And then started having the conversations with other partners in terms of getting this tour off the ground, executing this tour. So that's how the tour was formed. Originally, when we were supposed to do the tour, we were supposed to do six high schools, because based on budget and who it is, you know, there are other corporate companies that I reached out to, and they weren't seeing the vision of the tour. You understand me? Because as far as what I realized, and it's not just Jamaica, it's a worldwide issue. Nobody wants to talk about anybody that has a mental health illness. Right.
It's like a sign of weakness.
Exactly. It's a sign of weakness. Like when you say to somebody that you're depressed, I want you, which part you're depressed. Look how life good for you, you know, and you know, it goes on and on.
Check in online, because you'll have a lot of person coming in and bigging you up and really being moved by your story so far. Even Peralta Nichols, one of our regular persons who tunes in, she said, oh my God, she's just saying, imagine how hurtful your story must have been when you were younger. She's just commiserating with you, and that Jazeel Clark saying, very critical topic of discussion. Thank you, Jazeel. Really appreciate that. Shireen Barnes says you're our schoolmate and she's very proud of you.
Thanks, Shireen.
All right, Jazeel again saying we need a greater conversation as it may be a childhood shocker, but surely not a reality of the past as many others are undergoing same. So basically saying he understands how much of an impact that your past could easily have had on your situation.
It affects your future.
Paulette Stansel saying, pardon my ignorance, but who is this? Such a testimony. She's really moved by what you're saying and she's really enjoying
guys.
it. Paulette Stansel, she's asking somebody should get you some water. We have water for her.
Water.
She's taken care of. But Andrea Core Archer, God has a purpose for your life. And Tash Guthrie saying, wow, she's really feeling your story. So go ahead. Go ahead.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, yeah.
I'm really appreciating your
so,
really nice thing.
Thanks.
So continue.
So that's
how
working
the tour together.
So that's how the concept came about. Based on budget at the time, we were only able to do 6 high schools. You understand? Fast forward to 2019 now, we did a pre-launch of the tour itself because it's the first time I'm doing school tour. I have no experience in this field, etc. So we did a pre-launch at Harden High School the 15th, to kind of, and Harden helped us and taught us a lot in terms of, what to do, what not to do, the glitches and stuff, etc. And then on the 22nd of March, we did the original full launch now at Stats. I remember, when the Arden information came out in the newspaper, Jamaica Observer is a partner of ours. So they bring the articles and stuff off the tour. And the Sunday when the articles came out in the paper of what we did at Arden, I started getting phone calls. Somebody slid into my DM and what the person said to me, this is not good for your brand. You can't be telling people that, you suffer from clinical depression and you almost commit suicide. No. Yeah, man. I didn't even bother respond to the person. So it shows again that people don't want to talk about anybody that is mentally ill because of the stigma that's associated with it. So between us doing the pre-launch at Arden, the 15th of March, which was supposed to be 6 schools, and moving forward to the grand launch now, a week later, we moved from 6 schools to 20 high schools, 6 primary schools, 6 colleges slash university. I'll tell you why I'll go to primary. And 10 corporate companies, because then partners started seeing that no, this is a conversation that needs to be, needs to be happen. So then we started getting the support that we're supposed to get where the tour is concerned. Now, why did I went into primary schools?
Yeah,
that's a question that persons ask me over and over again.
Children of all ages.
So I didn't go through the trauma of being sexually assaulted until I was 13 years of age. That was in high school. But what did I go through when I was in primary school setting? I was going through the domestic violence situation that was happening at home. You get where I'm coming from? I was going through the situation of you having a parent that is saying to you that I wish I aborted you. You have ruined my life.
Verbal abuse going
on
there.
You're talking about mentally when you're young as a child, when your mind formed with a lot of things from that stage, you're already dealing with the topic of I'm not good enough. I should not be here. You understand me? And if it happened to me when I'm young, it is happening to other young kids.
Definitely.
And that's the reason why I decided that the conversation must be started from a young level.
So what exactly happens during these tours? So
what we do at the tour, we have speakers. So we have a psychologist that will speak on mental health on a whole, from the professional standpoint. The different illnesses on the umbrella itself. The signs, what to look for, how to treat it, how to deal with an individual that suffers from one of these illnesses, because outside of the persons who are suffering from the illness, we know as family members, we don't know how to interact.
Right.
You understand, with a family member that suffers from, one of the illness. We also have Gemar McFarlane, God, please, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correct. every time I keep mispronouncing Jamar McFarlane.
All right, Jamar.
So Jamar suffers from the bipolar disorder. So he's aligned with us on the tour where he comes around and speak about living with bipolar. You understand me? You know, how does it affect him as an individual? Like he will tell, he tells the kids he can't drink. You know, there are certain things he can't do.
Some things that trigger him off.
Exactly. He can't be in a stressful situation because that will trigger him. You understand me? He has to live on his meds, and the listing goes on and on. You understand me? And to also show them that not because you have an illness, because it's an illness, it's like lupus, cancer, you know, any of these sicknesses. Not because you have a sickness that means that you can't function same way. You get where I'm coming from? You know, we have the psychologists. We have different psychologists. We have Janelle Brooks that works with us on the tour. We have Sonia Winter that works with us on the tour. And these are certified psychologists that, you know, they're not just giving out information that's not accurate. You understand me? We have Dr. Abrams, you know, everybody know Mikey, you know. He's a gynecologist, but he also suffers from depression. So, you know, everybody knows him as the successful gynecologist and the comedian. You get where I'm coming from? But, you know, he suffers from depression, and he talks about, you know, himself also in terms of, you know, living with it, etc. You know, we have Dottie Berry who's on the tour also. I remember when I took up the phone the first day and called Shane, hey, you know, I'm doing this mental health tour. I want you to be a part of it, but I want you to speak on the topic of social health. Because, you know, we're living in a social media world where people are doing things for the likes of social media, not thinking what the digital footprint it is that they're leaving, and how it is that it can affect us after if you leave a negative digital footprint. You understand me? Not knowing at the time that he suffers from anxiety. You understand me? So, you know, it's like I call the right persons to be a part of the tour. So, you know, he speaks about himself also, and then speaks about the topic, which I think he has authority to speak on, because he uses social media as a business for him. You understand me?
Very successful,
It's very successful. We have Debbie Bassoon who's our MC on the tour. You know, another element under the mental health umbrella is postmortem depression that mothers go through. You get where I'm coming from? Postpartum depression that mothers go through. You understand me?
Absolutely.
So, you know, we're tying everything, because we're not just doing the schools in terms of talking to the kids. We're also going into the PTs, because we have to talk to the parents. Exactly. You understand me? We're also talking to the teachers. So it's not just, so when I say school tour, persons think that, okay, so we're just talking to the students themselves. No, we're doing the PTs, because we have to talk to the parents. You understand me? So that's how, you know, the school element of the tour is. It's just that our conversations with the parents are different from the conversation with the kids. Because, you know, these are adults. We're talking to the teachers, because imagine you have a mental health situation that you're dealing with as a teacher, and you yourself suffering from the same illness itself, and if you don't know how to deal with it and get the, you know, the professional help that you need to get.
It makes teaching students difficult.
You're gonna assist the kids.
The
other thing that I'm realizing by going into the schools also is that the guidance counselor themselves are not equipped. Now, when I came up with the tour idea, some things I'm seeing in the school, I never thought I would see these things in the school. I tell people every day, I think I only see it on Lifetime TV. You know, the kids are cutting up themselves, and these are things that I'm seeing in the schools. I went into a high school, and, you know, we did the tour at the high school, you understand me? And the head girl for the high school came to me, wanted to talk to me after. And when we started having the conversation, she's going through the same thing that I went through as a child. She's going through the teenage rape. And she's a head girl at the high school. So imagine you're coming to school every day.
With that in your...
You understand me? And you know, you're dealing with the burden of the school responsibility. And you don't even... You understand me? So, you know, I had to put her with a psychologist, you understand me? Because she couldn't speak to the school, the guidance counselor, you understand me? And where do you go for help when you're living in the inner city? You get where I'm coming from? So, you know, what I did was had, have the psychologist that's actually, they're now having their weekly sessions. You get where I'm coming from, for her to work through what is going on with her, and to also, to get the help that she needs.
So some of the cases that might just be a little bit too much for the psychologist.
Exactly.
The guidance counselor.
For the guidance counselor, exactly. But it doesn't stop there. Another thing it is that we're putting into the schools is, with Dr. Abrams, we've got the connection with a wealth of psychologists who are volunteering their services free of cost. You understand
fantastic.
me? So what we're
Amazing.
putting in place in the schools is, each school it is that we go into will have psychologists, not psychologists, not a psychology,
Right.
but psychologists that we have assigned to the school. You understand me? So the students know that there is a safe space where your guidance counselor office is concerned, you understand me, to have the conversation that you need to have, to get the help that you need to get if you're going through any situation it is that you're going through, and you need to get mentally healthy.
So let me ask you, so what are some of the, tips or things that you can share, especially to it's a range of issues that children go through and that kind of thing, but just coming out of the tours and having got to the experience in all these different schools, what are some of the things that you can recommend as
the main thing I'll recommend, and I say to everybody, I say to the kids that reach out to me, I issue out my number at these schools just in case they're afraid to even go to the guidance counselor to say that we want to use the resources here in terms of what we're putting in place. So I give them my number. Some of them find me on social media, and my DMs are full daily. My main takeaway is, do not be afraid to say I'm not okay. Ask for help. That's a mistake I made. For years, I never discussed being sexually abused for years. Because I was embarrassed, I was ashamed. You get where I'm coming from? And then when I started talking about it, I wasn't talking about it in a broad space. I would just, like you talk to your friend, your girlfriend, you're like, I was, you understand what I'm saying? So I never spoke about it. I remember when I started dating my husband now, you understand me? One of the first thing he said to me was, babe, I think you need to get professional help. You understand me? And I said to him, for what? After me no mad woman. Me myself, you get where I'm coming from? After me no mad woman, what kind of conversation my son have with a therapist? What a therapist going to tell me that I don't know? I survived this, you understand me? And his idea of me sitting down and talking about my situation had nothing at all to do with me being okay or not okay. But I needed to get the professional help to work through what I went through as a kid.
Right.
That's where its space was. You get where I'm coming from, so I can be a better person. And I have a daughter. I have a 15-year-old daughter. You get where I'm coming from? So I want to make sure that what I went through, she doesn't go through it. You understand me?
And feels okay to come to you and talk about
the relationship. My daughter and I she tell me daily, Mom, my friends tell me that we're mother-daughter goals. And I'm like, really? I'm so miserable. And you're like, yeah, everybody knows you're miserable. But they're like, we do everything together, you understand me? Because the relationship I wanted with my mother, I ensure I have it with my daughter, you understand me? And not only that, I'm also bringing my daughter up in a way where she's not afraid of talking about anything it is that is affecting her.
All right.
You understand me? So, example, if somebody was supposed to sexually assault her, she should be okay to come and say it to me. You get where I'm coming from? If she's having any issues, she's not supposed to be ashamed of talking about it or embarrassed.
Right, feel any type of way about it.
So my takeaway tip that I say to all the kids are, you understand me? Whatever issue it is that you have, even if, we think we're depressed when we're not really depressed. You understand me? If things not, if we're sad, them think it's depression. It doesn't matter what it is that you think. You get where I'm coming from? The minute you start having certain thoughts, it's not healthy to cut yourself. Healthy people don't have suicidal thoughts. You get where I'm coming from? So the minute, the negativity is controlling your life, you need to get professional counsel.
All right. I just want to check in again online with persons sharing comments. Of course, they're all, bigging you up and saying thank you for your bravery to come forward and just share your story, because it's been a very moving and impactful and just really far-reaching. I mean, people would just see and wouldn't even know the half, right?
Trust me.
I mean, Candice Christine is saying, thank you, Candice, for your comment. She's saying, I want to thank you to Patrice. Mental health is such a taboo when it really shouldn't be. Keep up the good work and share your story to those who don't know. Dante Matthews saying, such an important topic, mental health and wellness needs to be promoted more. Thank you, Dante, for your comment. Appreciate that. Tash Guthrie saying, so true, well needed. Even Peralto Nichols saying, mental health has a very wide range of issues, as Patricia is stating. Patrice, I saw an article about a year ago stating that over 50% of the population is dealing with some form of mental health issue.
And there's another article that also came out in 2017 that says 90% of women who suffers from depression, it has to do with some sort of childhood trauma that they experience.
This makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And Candice is asking you, what advice do you have for adults who have mental health issues?
All right, adults who have mental health issue, get the professional help that you need. Talk about it. Do not, sulk away, lock away, hide away from the world, etc.
Don't do like you and say,
don't do like me. You get where I'm coming from. Unfortunately, we live in the era of social media, where things that we discuss, because I've seen things that you discuss with doctors, you understand me? It's being discussed back. And you understand me? That's the reality. That's the reality of what we're living right now. You get where I'm coming from, and you start seeing some of your personal things on social media itself. The advice I'll give to adults is stop living for social media. That's number one. I started, and it's something that I started doing since 2019. You understand me? I start my day outside running, because like this morning I was out on the road from 2:30 running in the morning, because I ran 10 miles before I went to work. Okay. So the first thing I tell people is I get my running out the way, and when I have my downtime now in between clients, you see me listening or hear me listening to some sort of motivational activity. You understand me? Because that's where I get my groove on. You understand me? I start tuning out from social media. I love the thing with iPhone where, and Instagram now. So iPhone does it and Instagram start doing it where you have limit times on social media. You can limit your time on social media, because we are so caught up in what we're seeing on social media, we think everything is real.
Yeah, living the lifestyle.
You understand me? People, even as entrepreneurs, that's a different discussion, for another topic, another day. But as entrepreneurs, I remember discussing with a group of entrepreneurs that we ourselves as entrepreneurs are guilty for portraying a particular lifestyle on social media. We're showing the beautiful side of business, but we're not sure how much night we go to bed and cry and ball because we can't pay bills. You understand what I'm saying? So you tune out of social media, try to surround yourself with positive people. You understand me? I don't entertain negativity. You understand me? And I realize that I have now passed that on to my daughter. You understand me? You can never tell my daughter that she's ugly. She'll be like, okay, thank you. And she move on. She does. I don't entertain negativity. Her mind space nor does she maintains negativity. You understand me? So surround yourself with the persons who are bringing you forward, persons who are positive, and seek the professional help.
All right. So how do people get in touch with you? How do they reach you? How do they, if they want to make connection with you, if they want to support the tour, they just want to just hash it out with you and talk?
If they want to, make connection, support the tour, probably want the tour to come their school, because the school tour ends, the first leg of the school tour ends March 2020. Because, we never really start, the right school year. So it's from March 2019 to March 2020. And then year 2 of the tour now going to start, September 2020. We're going to follow the correct school year. So you want to reach out, you want me to even, link you up with one of our psychologists and stuff like that. It's 876-438-8348.
Look in the camera and tell them.
876-838-8348. Sorry guys.
Again, one more time.
So 876-438-8348 or 876-438-GET-FIT.
All right.
Health. And we're on social media. I'm on Instagram at Patrice J White. The school tour also have its own Instagram and Facebook page, so you can also slide into the DM or private message Dynamic Mental Health SMS, or send an email dynamicmentalhealthsms@gmail.com. So there's a lot of ways in which to connect. The major project I'm working on is, and it's a project that I want to get up and running before 2020 is out, is we're going to try out a trial project of 2 safe space. What we call safe space.
Yeah, what do you call it?
One is going to be in Kingston, one is going to be in Ocherous or Montego Bay. And it will be a fully funded space where we have counselors that are working, that persons who are suffering from any of the illnesses itself, they can go in, make appointments. It's not a cost for them, you understand me? To see these counselors, because they're counselors who are volunteering their time, etc.
Okay, right.
And get the help, get the therapy it is that they need. So that's my major project that I'm working on with, it will extend outside my present partners now, I'm so grateful for Brunswick, Jamaica and Victoria Mutual. They're really the driving main partners in terms of covering finances where the tour is concerned, you understand me? So outside of them, we have individuals, private persons living in Jamaica and out, in the Jamaican diaspora outside, right, also have reached out to me. They love what I'm doing, etc. How it is that they can help and stuff like that in terms of monitoring. And that's what I say to them. We want to get the safe space off the ground, up and operational, so persons who need the help and can't afford a psychologist. Because imagine me as a teenager going to school, me can afford a psychologist session?
Of course not.
You understand what I'm saying?
Those who come from the tough
exactly, and when the school is limited where the guidance counselor is, how do I really get the help that I need? And that's the reason why we're doing the safe space.
All right, fantastic, wonderful. Wow, I mean, a lot to say. A lot of information was shared here today. I mean, a lot about Patrice, a lot about her story, a lot of tips about how to improve your own mental health. I hope you have all been motivated if you are feeling these feelings or having these challenges to step forward and just first say it's okay to not be okay.
It's okay to say I'm not okay. That's what people need to understand. Right. It's okay to say I'm not okay. You understand me?
It's not a sign of weakness.
It's not a sign of weakness. And then after you realize you're not okay, you get the professional help, you do the social media cleansing, start reading, get involved in a physical activity, understand me? You don't have to be, as people call, people tell me I'm extreme. You get where I'm coming from?
10 miles is kind of extreme still. But.
Yeah, but I have to,
it works for you,
it
so
challenges me. I love things that challenges me.
Right.
So you don't have to go the extreme as me, you understand me? You can just walk 30 minutes a day. You can just do, some sort of body work routine at home, 30 minutes a day. You get where I'm coming from? You can swim, cycle. There's a lot of things it is that you can do, you get in terms of physical activity. One of the cheapest physical activity that you can do if you don't want to go out, because people say that, they really want to run, but they don't have anybody to run with, and they don't want to go, go on the road by themselves because of safety issue, etc. You know what's the cheapest thing to do? As long as you don't have any injuries, you buy one skipping rope. Skipping rope is under $500. You buy a skipping rope, and you can skip for 30 minutes of the day. So you see, you understand me? Easy, simple, cheap ways, you understand me, in terms of decluttering.
Wonderful.
That space.
I don't really know what else I need to say. I mean, I think, they want us to share your email address one more time.
So my email address is dynamicmentalhealthsms@gmail.com.
Right, and of course our number is 876-438-8348.
Yes, I remember it now.
Link up Patrice. Get the help. I mean, she's here as an ambassador, definitely, for mental health and mental wellness. I'm a serious
advocate where that is concerned.
So, I mean, if you want, if you don't necessarily feel like you you can do it where you are, just call her. She can facilitate it, as she said. She can put you in touch with psychiatrists, psychologists who can help you work through your trauma, work through your issues, and point you in the right direction to get your headspace sorted out. I mean, and we're going to say it 10,000 times before people forget it. It's okay
to say I'm not okay.
I'm not okay.
Another thing that we need to stop doing as individuals is when somebody say to you that they are depressed or they're stressed or they have anxiety issue and stuff like that, stop calling them mad. That's the first stigma that we need to drop. Stop calling them mad. Find out what is the issue it is that they're having. You understand me? Find out how it is that you can help. You get where I'm coming from? Walk them through it. And always remember to check on your strong friends.
Yeah, definitely.
I am the strong friends who are always there for all my friends. You understand me? And outside of Janelle, my other friends never knew that I was depressed. I suffer from depression. Especially clinical depression. they didn't know until in 2015 when I did a post to say, this is how I was able to control what's going on with me. I started running. Check up on your strong friends. Not because they're strong doesn't mean that they're okay, because we're the ones who are really not okay until it reach a level where we do something stupid.
Okay. All right. I think it's time for us to wrap. We've talked about. All right. I don't. Sounds like some technical difficulties.
Yeah,
hopefully, it shouldn't affect the situation. But we have it all. We have it recorded. Video is recorded, everything's recorded, so we will put this up so persons who want to go back through it, or you might want to share this with a friend or two or thousands, that they can get it as well. So I mean, lots of information, lots of useful information. Link up Patrice, she can point you in the right direction. Everything will work out just fine. If you just have to make the first step, and that's why she's here, pointing you in the right direction so you can get the information that you need. It's time for us to wrap. Thanks to everyone who tuned into our discussion, especially those of you who sent in questions and comments. Really do appreciate them. And if you sent in a question or you have a question and we didn't get to answer it, not to worry, we'll be going through again and we can channel that to Patrice as soon as possible. Remember, our audience plays a major part in our show, so if there's anyone in particular you'd like us to have in studio, let us know, and we'll try as best as possible to have that person in studio very quickly. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram at Jamaica Information Service to see who will be in studio next. We do this every Thursday live on Facebook. I've been your host, Vaughn Davis, and this has been Studio 58A Live. Thank you again for joining us, and please have a wonderful day.